Ken Tobin took a very distressing phone call yesterday afternoon on our behalf from a woman who's desperately frightened of the COVID-19 situation. She wept as she told him how frightened she is, and she wanted to know, is it possible for someone to get counselling, or could we talk to someone about getting counselling for people like her? She's just frightened of this thing, and it's very widespread and it's very understandable. Enda O Doherty, good morning to you.
Morning, PJ. How are you today?
Good. And we get more of those calls every day because, you know, no matter how much you say, look, stay safe, wash your hands, people are very frightened about this, very frightened.
Yeah, absolutely. Understandably. I mean, it's never happened before. Normally in our house, PJ, I don't know, in your house, when the kids ask for help with something, I have 10 solutions because I've either lived it or my wife has lived it or I've seen it. And This is all brand new. But what dawned on me, I suppose maybe 3 days into all of this, if we can go back right to the very start, is 3 days in, I was not able to eat my breakfast. I couldn't swallow. I know what anxiety and depression feel like, and I know what panic attacks feel like because I've lived with them for quite a few years, and I began to be really fearful. My sleep started to fall apart, and I knew where this was headed because, as I say, I've lived it as an alcoholic. I know what that feels like. And I sat down on day 3 and I said, right, I've been in this dark hole before. I know what this feels like, but I'm damn sure I know how to get out of it, and I know how I can improve the situation. You know, I think it's natural that we're all fearful. We're all going to be worried, but I don't think that we have to be prisoners of it. I think there's a lot of things we can do, and I'd love to share those with some of your listeners this morning because I've certainly done them and have improved my life dramatically over the last few weeks. And I'm going to tell you, PJ, I slept last night like I haven't slept since I was about 12. You know, when you're 12 and you went out, built a tree house, chased 5 girls, played 6 games of football,
yes,
had a bag of chips and fell asleep into the deepest sleep.
Yes.
I'm sleeping like that at the moment, which I wasn't pre-virus. So, you know, I'm obviously some of it's working for me.
How do you achieve that? For example, that woman, as I said, and I listened back to the call this morning. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
She wept on the phone to Ken.
Yeah. It's well, look, it's our mental health. You know, 1 in 4 people in Ireland at some stage in their life will encounter a serious mental health crisis. So it's a natural thing. It's something that happens to us periodically on and off in our life, and it's pretty set. But what's not set is our reaction to it. You know, there's so many things we can do. I'm sure your researcher probably fell over when I sent him an email originally. But my backstory is people often call me Enda, but most people now call me the washing machine guy because I walked from Belfast to Waterford, which was 9 marathons in 8 days with a washing machine on my back.
Hold on, now I know who you are.
Yeah, and
I looked at the newspaper and goes, who is this lunatic?
Who is this lunatic? Exactly. And the couple of years later, the lunacy continued because I climbed Kilimanjaro with a washing machine on my back. And I'm sure right now, if you could see your listeners' faces, a lot of people smiling and laughing, saying, he did what? But the reason I did it was to raise funds for mental health charities. And my message was really simple, PJ, and it's appealed to anyone listening this morning. My message was this: don't carry something stupid around with you. If you're under pressure, if you're carrying a hidden load, you know, the average week in Ireland, we lose 8 people to suicide a week, and those people die because they've been carrying a hidden load that they didn't share and didn't ask for help with. So my message with the washing machine, corny, but it worked because we made hundreds of thousands of euros. It raised it for charity, but the message was ask for help, share the load. And I suppose there's an equal subplot going on right now is if you think someone's under pressure, we all have a responsibility to reach out and ask people, do they need help? You know, so you said there that phone call was very distressing. I've been getting emails and phone calls from people. I have a Facebook page called the Mental Health Challenge, and on it I post. So the other night I posted a video of 5 things I learned about COVID-19, and it went to 15 or 20,000 people. And I did a special the other night on how I'm sleeping so well at the moment. And
how are you sleeping so well? Because I mean, apart from anything else, like there's not a lot to do.
Well, there is a lot to do, Peter. The average Irish person lives about 27,000 days, right? Regardless of COVID or anything else, that's what we get. So when I get out of the morning, first thing I do is I have a plan and I fill my day, right? My brother rang me the other morning at about 11 o'clock and he was very groggy and he said, how are you? And I said, you sound sleepy. He said, yeah, I'm just up, I'm having breakfast. He said, have you had breakfast? And I said, yeah, it's 6 a.m. because that's my normal get-up time before this happened. Now, by holding a regular get-up time, I'm also banjaxed tired. 10 o'clock comes at night, I can't stay awake. and fall into bed exhausted. The first thing I do every morning is feed myself really good, healthy, nutritious breakfast, because there's a chap I know, he said, it's a bit like Christmas. He said, I'm eating too much, I'm drinking too much, and I feel really sluggish and down. So I'm having the healthy breakfast, I'm taking some exercise, I'm getting up at a regular time. For me, I recognize fear very quickly and I do something about it. So I have a fear, like a lot of people in their 50s. I was, oh my God, this time last week, PJ, I thought TikTok was something that came out of the kitchen and noise, and for the last 6 weeks, I signed up to a free course online on social media, and I have learned about Google Analytics and Facebook editing. I'm making a video right now for Frankie Sheehan for his Front Row Speakers company who I work for. I'm doing a video for Frankie right now, and I'm glad I'm semi-bald because the hair would completely pull out trying to figure out how to use the laptop, but I'm learning, The other thing, I think, it's a strange thing to say, but when you feel you really need help and you're feeling under pressure, certainly ring someone or talk to someone.
That's where I'd like, if you would, Enda, I'd like to kind of get some advice from you, because that woman needed someone to talk to, but one of her biggest problems was she felt all alone.
Yeah, but you see, you're not, there are so many people right now listening to this who don't realise how loved they are, how appreciated they are, how cared they are. And I think the trap is sometimes we're sitting in the house and think, God, I can't go anywhere, no one's coming near me. And I would say to people, match every negative thought with a positive action, right? So if you're sitting on the couch going, oh my God, I really feel lethargic and I'm putting on weight and I'm eating too much during this, get up right now, put on the headphones and go for a walk. And don't do your 20-minute walk for an hour, because you can. Stay within your limit.
Someone, though, who is been asked to cocoon.
Yeah, well, my dad is 84, and when Leo made the big announcement, I rang him and I said, Daddy, you okay? And he said, yeah, I locked the door a week ago. He said, I'm not taking any risks. And the other night I spoke to him on the phone, and he said he was getting edgy. At the end of a conversation, PJ, when someone's saying, well, I'll let you go now and we'll talk later, and I said, Dad, why are you getting off the phone? What's the rush? Where are you going? And he was going because he had to FaceTime my brother's kids and read them their bedtime story, because they had all their baths and they were waiting for Granddad to do FaceTime. To read them the story. And if you're sitting there and thinking, God, no one has rang me, ring someone. The other night, I'm not turning into a stalker, but I looked up two chaps who I haven't seen since 1986 when we walked out of English paper 1 in the Leaving Cert. And we chatted for about 3 hours, and in 3 hours we went through marriage, child, divorce, jobs, a whole lifetime. And we had been great friends in 86. It's just, there wasn't Snapchat, Instagram or anything else, and we just drifted apart. Yeah. But, make an effort to look after you. I often
do you know what I'm going to do, Enda? I'm going to take a pause here, because I need to go to a news bulletin and stuff like that. I want to come back with you after 11 for about another 5 minutes. And if you could, in the course of time, just think of 3 or 4 things that anybody can do from today to get us through the difficult times. So I'll put you back on to Katie, and you might come back after news. I'm talking to Enda O Doherty, who's a motivational speaker, about how we get through these challenging times without getting very upset. Let's go back briefly to Enda for maybe a half a dozen things we can all do to avoid this getting to us, because, and Dee was saying the same last week, and I agree with her, we're all coming from a certain place of good luck here. Privilege, I don't like the word privilege, but people, we still have our jobs that we can come into. We still can leave the house every morning, come here, meet our colleagues, a greatly reduced number of colleagues, but meet them. And chat and see the outside world and go home then and lock down for the evening. So, but if you're stuck in the house around the clock, maybe working from home, maybe not having a job anymore, maybe trying to mind a couple of kids that are crawling around, pulling everything out of the drawer because they've no school to go to, what can you do when it all gets too much? So, Enda, you've been thinking about this across the news bulletin.
Yeah, I have. I loved your outro there of the news talking about the Easter eggs, and I started chuckling to myself. I said, I hope the phone isn't live, because I was thinking that was extremely nice of that person, and they must have been exhausted. And I was thinking, excellent idea. But the thing is, one of the things I've really tried to do is laugh. So a lot of people are getting out and doing their 2K walks. Can I give you a really simple thing that I'm doing every night? Is rather than do the same loop and drive myself crazy every evening, if I'm walking with one of the family family members, it's great, we have a chat. But if I'm walking on my own, on Monday night I went out, and before I went out I put on YouTube one of a stand-up comedian who shall remain nameless, absolutely filthy. And as I walked for my hour or so, I honestly, PJ, I laughed the whole way around. I'd say anyone in the community would say your man has lost the marbles, because I was just walking along on my own, big belly laughs. So I got my fresh air and I got my laughs. So I'd say laughter, it's really, really important. There's a friend of mine who has rang me probably 6 days in a row now, and I will not tell you the joke online on live because you'll cut me off instantly, but he told me a joke yesterday that actually made me lie down in the garden and laugh so heartily, because it was just filthy and brilliant, and I loved it. Right, yeah. And a good big belly laugh. You pursue things that make you happy, people or videos or movies or books or YouTube. I think a really, really important thing to do is media-wise. If you're in a relationship with someone, nobody's surprised if you watch a romantic movie and it gets a bit steamy. Nobody's surprised that the mood between you and your partner changes. Because you've been impacted by what you've watched. Or if you watch a horror film, I don't like them because I go to bed then and the milkman pulls up and I'm sort of jumping out of my skin. Or a bird flies past the window and I'm instantly back in the movie. And it's of no surprise to me that people who are feeding themselves with negative media and constantly finding out about deaths and illnesses and this horrible images, and then they're panicked and they're full of anxiety. So you do need to know what's going on, and you do need to know how to keep yourself safe.
Find something you love, a book, a movie, some music, and just do it and switch off and shut out this damn thing.
Yeah. So I do watch the news, but my news is I limit myself to one news bulletin in the morning for 5 minutes, and that's enough for me. I don't want to drive myself crazy. I don't want to wind myself up.
And maybe addressing ourselves directly to that lady who's frightened, and that she said she's going to bed at night and she's so frightened by what she's seen on the news that she's crying herself to sleep.
Yeah, so the first thing is don't watch the news, and the second thing is try to give yourself what I often call a digital sunset. So rather than looking and scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and the news and blasting your brain, the rods and cones in your eyes with high resolution images and often negative thoughts, maybe try and read, or maybe just try and listen to some music. It's a much, much, much better idea, Try new things, PJ. I tried and have the last 5 weeks, I have become a yogi, and I do yoga every night. I turn it on YouTube. There's a particular part of yoga which is called shavasana, which is where you do not the stretchy bit, it's the deep breathing, relaxy bit. And I have to tell you, a pint of shavasana is your only man, because I'm going up the stairs most nights and I'm very wobbly. I'm that dopey and sleepy and relaxed after it. But I tell you, a good story is my first or two nights my wife did it. She was like, come on now, and we threw on YouTube, and I was lying on my sitting room floor thinking, this is stupid, I'm not going to do this, and gradually I listened to the lovely lady's voice and the music, and I went a bit deeper, and then I could hear this snoring, and I thought, my God, she's ruining it for me. And then I realised it wasn't my wife, it was me. I had conked out completely.
Shavasana.
And Shavasana, your only man. Yeah, okay. So I keep doing that. Okay. I think movement, the fact that we can, sit on the couch all day is, we really shouldn't sit on the couch all day. It doesn't matter. I'm looking out here at my garden. It's like a snooker table. I have cut, polished, trimmed every inch of it. And I was looking at the neighbour's garden the other day, and I was thinking, I wouldn't mind to go at that hedge, which is how bizarre the whole situation
to keep yourself going.
Yeah,
and if you feel you need to talk to someone,
If you feel you need to talk to someone, I would say 100% reach out and make contact. And if the person you talk to doesn't understand or isn't helpful, or you feel hasn't resolved the situation, ring someone else. I can remember going to a counsellor when I was very, very bad, and I remember going to a medical practitioner, and I remember I went in and I came out and thought, God, that poor fella's in a worse state than I was. And I really didn't, I didn't click with him at all. So talk to someone, and maybe try to talk to the right person. And if you don't feel you can talk to someone in your family or in your friends' circle at the moment, all you do is go to any mental health website in Ireland, and there are numerous phone calls or numerous phone numbers that you can get in touch with, and you can reach out. I know an awful lot of people are resorting to alcohol, and as an alcoholic, I know, I said to someone, I didn't have any mental health issues really when I was drinking, because I medicated myself with brandy and with vodka. And, from someone who... A really, really bad idea, Peter. I mean, I was drinking maybe 3-4 bottles of whiskey a week at one stage, but you would never see me late for work, never absent, never let anyone down. But I was dying in slow motion.
Yeah.
But what I do know with alcohol is that not only it's like a plaster, it will only temporarily mask the issues or problems you have, but in many cases, when you stop drinking, it magnifies it.
Yes,
So
because it is a kind of self-medication, but not a good
it
thing.
is, yeah.
And I'm going to leave it there. Your own website is endaodoherty.ie, and of course, you're also on Facebook.
Yeah, so the Facebook page where people will get a lot of videos and information. My charity Facebook page is the Mental Health Challenge. You'll find us on Facebook. You can't miss it. There's a baldy middle-aged man sitting on a washing machine on top of it. And my professional one, where, as I said, where I work as a commercial speaker with businesses, teams and individuals, all that sort of thing, is endaodoherty.ie. But you can I just say at the finish, do you know when you're sitting in the airport coming back from holidays and you look and you know all you've got to come back to is the visa bill and you're miserable, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows in life that good things come to an end. But the great news for anyone listening to this is the flip side of that coin is this, that I've been through really tough times in my life. Really, really hard times, things that I didn't think I could survive. But all difficult things, all the bad things in our life will pass. We'll be on an episode of Reeling in the Years, and our children and our grandchildren will be given out about studying this in the history book. And when we look back at it, I think the important thing is that we look back and we say, as people, as a country, we didn't just survive it, we thrived. That's what we should be thinking about. Let's get the best we can out of this situation, and let's get a smile on our faces. Let's get through this.
This too shall pass.
That's exactly it, BJ. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Cheers, Enda. Take care.